Welcome back, idiots. Polska, how you going today, sir?
I had a tough week, but I'm feeling really good now. This is my favorite part of the week, so I'm ready to rock, bro.
Ooh, podcast jam. Okay, so today on the list of things we're going to be discussing, we're going to be talking about crypto and the impending doom being thrown down by the American government onto the cryptos. We're also going to talk about the bull case for crypto involving AI and autonomous agents and a whole bunch of other stuff. But have you been following what's happening?
No, not really. And I feel like maybe we should have done some research before this podcast, but we're just gonna fucking wing it. And I'm just gonna say I seen something the other day. Apparently, I think it's Matic on the Polygon network. Cardone. I don't remember what network Cardone is on. And there's one more cryptocurrency that's considered a security. Oh, Solana. I think those are like the three big ones that they're being taken off of, I think, the Coinbase exchange and possibly the Binance one. So a lot of people were dumping those coins, right? Like you could see, I think they went down like maybe 25% in a very short period of time. And I just find it ridiculous because it's based on, I believe the SEC is filing lawsuits. Is that right, Rubes? Is that what you heard?
Correct.
Okay. So they're filing a lawsuit because they're listing securities on an exchange and there are security laws which they're not abiding by. I know the CEO of Binance didn't apply to actually have securities on an exchange. It's for some, I don't know the details. If you know more about it, you can expand on it, but basically they're not following the laws which securities fall under. So a bunch of people are just dumping their coins, which I don't fucking understand. Who the fuck is keeping coins on a goddamn exchange? Like, that's not how you do crypto. Like, what the fuck? You're not supposed to, I don't get it. Like, did we not learn anything from FTX? Like, it's the Wild West. You don't leave your shit in someone's house when it's the Wild West. So they should be taking their Matic, their Cardone, or Solana off the fucking exchange. And why would you dump it? It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, no one is doing crypto properly. All right, guys, that's my rant.
All right, good to hear you're passionate about it. Nice. Okay, so when you said we should do some research before this, man, that is so not crypto. Are you fucking serious? Doing research is not part of crypto. You just buy it because it's going to the moon, dog.
Yo, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. That's mainly why I'm pissed off, because it hasn't gone to the moon yet. That's why I'm pissed off about it. But, yeah.
Okay, so to clarify all the things that you said, for all joking aside, what's happened is that the SEC has come out and said that a bunch of cryptocurrencies are actually securities. And they're trying to now retrospectively, enforce all of this and say they were, even though they haven't been classified as securities and they are probably not securities in many cases. And there needs to be clearer definitions and, things need to be updated in regards to this. So there's a mass panic going on, and that's why you'll see 25% declines. Now, all of this is just part of figuring it out. Like if crypto is going to be truly disruptive, then we're going to go through this kind of stuff. And this is the volatility that people love as well. Volatility is what creates the opportunity. And you don't just have to buy coins to make money off them. You can also short coins to make money off them. So it is what it is in that regard. Now, it is pretty shitty of the SEC and Gary Gensler, who was formerly a crypto advocate, and I'm pretty sure there's even, he's even done like a course at MIT or somewhere like that on cryptocurrencies and shilling Algorand way back in the day, or the ticker token Algo. And another guy from MIT, Silvio Samuels, the guy that came up with that crypto. So it's like, anyway, it's a convoluted mess currently, but there's blood in the streets and there's a lot of drama. So, it seems all pretty doom and gloom, and I think that's why people are selling their coins on the exchanges. Panic. But what does it mean for crypto long term? Well, I think there's a bull case that can be made for if some things are classified as securities. But it's gray for the American public because I'm pretty sure in America to invest in a security, you have to be a accredited investor. And in order to get accredited, you have to have a certain amount of money. I think it's about $250,000. And you need to pass some sort of exam or test. I don't know, something like that. Okay. So what it really is doing is it's cutting out like the average person's access to the market, which they argue is what needs to happen because people need to be protected. But I don't know if that does need to happen. Do you know much more about any of that?
No, to be honest, no. I mean, they say protection. I hear control, so I really don't know what's going on. But I kind of don't really have much faith in a lot of the decisions that are being made, especially in the last few years in the government. I think a lot of people are losing faith in the government, which should be just another reason why you should be investing in crypto right fucking now, because we definitely do not want to let the government start making CBDCs, and control us even more. So let's all get on the same fucking page and buy the dip.
Buy the dip. Yeah, that's my favorite meme. When it's buy the dip, buy the dip. And then the last one is the sniper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know which meme you're talking about, guy. There's so many memes. So I will say that I did buy Matic at 56 cents today.
Okay, nice guy.
I felt like that was I thought I hit a good number, but I don't know if it was a good decision or not, because sometimes there's some shit in the market and then you buy too early, right? I've done that before.
Well, I think if you zoom out on a long enough time horizon, it might end up being okay. But in the short term, who knows? Now, okay, so let's get back to this regulatory stuff and the rest of it. Now, Coinbase is getting sued. Binance is getting sued. Let's talk about the Coinbase one. So Coinbase is getting sued by the SEC. Now, the funniest thing about all of this is the Coinbase has tried to do this the right way since day one. And they've asked for guidance and like to be regulated in some respect. Like, tell us what we should be doing. And the SEC has not done that. And then all of a sudden comes out and just blatantly tries to sue them. So I don't think that this is as warranted or as justified as the SEC thinks it is. Like, I think this is very brazen, not brazen. I think this is very knee-jerk, if that makes sense. I think they're really trying to attack crypto, but I also think it shows how little they have on attacking crypto. And I think they're going to try really hard, but I ultimately think it's going to fail. And all they're really going to do is just drive crypto out of the US. And that's only going to hurt the US population, really. To me, that's what it seems like. And then, everyone else who isn't getting hammered by the regulatory bodies in their country is going to be able to participate and hopefully benefit long-term from it. But yeah, it seems really stupid considering, Gary Gensler and a bunch of other people were working closely with FTX to do all this law stuff. And then FTX was the one that ended up stealing everyone's fucking money and being a bad actor. And then Coinbase, who was trying to work with them, they wouldn't fucking work with. And now they're suing them, even though Coinbase is probably the only one that's been doing it right since day dot, Dumb. Have you heard any of that stuff?
No, that is some great insight. I haven't heard that deep about it at all. I've just been listening to a lot of not crypto podcasts, but I've been listening to a lot of crypto shit by that guy. I think his name is Michael Saylor.
Michael Saylor.
Yeah, I really like some of his perspectives when it comes to Bitcoin. And one of the points that he shared I saw on the PDB podcast was he discussed how the functionality of Bitcoin in terms of it being a much better investment in comparison to land or currencies or gold, for example. And he said so many things, but one of the things that caught my attention the most is that you can go anywhere in the world that you want, and you can take your Bitcoin with you, and the government has no control over that, right? And you don't have to pay any taxes on it. You have full control of your money. Because, okay, for example, if you try and take more than $10,000 cash or gold with you, like to another country, you're gonna have to, explain why you have that much money, right? I think the limit is like around 10,000 USD, and under you don't have to explain why you're traveling with that much. But I think over, I believe you have to, what's it called, like clear it by customs or whatever, right? So it becomes very difficult to sort of transfer wealth from one country to another, especially, and even land. Like you can sell your land, you have to find a buyer, but you can't take your land with you to another country. And with selling land, there's a lot of other things that come to play as well, like taxes is another thing, and the value of the dollar, right? I think he was saying that the value of the dollar is, I think, upwards of 7% per year. The US dollar is being devalued. I think it's the right word that he was using. So money becomes less and less powerful over time, and that's the US dollar still like the standard currency in business around the world. Like even though there's a lot of fear in the market about that as well. It's losing value.
It's about 70% of global trade is done in US dollars still to this day.
Yeah, so it'll take decades and decades before we switch to another currency, is what I heard another fella saying. I don't remember his name though. Some economist, brown fella.
In-depth description of people's appearance.
I can't remember his fucking
brown
name.
fella. Yeah, look that up. Okay, so yes, what you're mentioning is happening, absolutely. So your purchasing power is eroding day by day, and it's been happening for a while. Bitcoin does solve some of those problems, but it's tricky to use. It's hard to self-custody. There's a lot of responsibility that the individual has to take that they don't have to take with traditional banking system. Like I'm an advocate, I'm a fan. I think it's good to have options. So as much as I don't think Bitcoin is going to replace everything, I do think that it is a good hedge in a way, and that a small percentage of your net worth should be allocated towards those other options in case contingency plan, so to speak. But Saylor is right in saying that, like it's very efficient to transport large amounts of wealth stored on the Bitcoin blockchain or in Bitcoin around the world. And transferring money in between countries is notoriously difficult and slow and expensive. And whereas on Bitcoin, you could transfer $1 billion worth of Bitcoin for a couple of bucks. To transfer $1 billion worth of money overseas is going to cost you way more than that in the traditional system. And it doesn't really make sense as to why. It's more just an artifact of the systems that we have set up. Do you find the name of that guy? You're on mute, guy.
Vivek Ramaswamy, Ramaswamy, I think. He was amazing on the podcast. I really, really enjoyed listening to him. I really appreciate a lot of his views on things, and he seems like a really intelligent guy. So yeah, shout out to Vivek, lighting it up on the PBD podcast. I always say PDB. Fuck PBD.
Yeah, PBD. Okay, yeah. So let's get into the weeds of this, right? So there is this current attack, mainly being led by the SEC, and it's having effects in the crypto markets. Now, I like I said, I don't think this is going to be a major thing. I think that pushback from the people, I think the fact that other people in other countries are going to have opportunities at this, and it's going to be a competitive disadvantage to the US, I think means that this sort of all ends up being not much. But in the short term, it could be quite tumultuous and could, cause some problems, some panic and some fear, and to be mindful of that. I think ultimately, Gensler's he's on the fiat pay I don't know, he's on the payroll for fiat essentially, and he's being used. He's being weaponized against the crypto industry, if you want to call it an industry, or the crypto ecosystem is probably more accurate. And I think it's all gonna, it's all gonna fizzle out essentially. Now, I do think there is another bull case for crypto. I really do, and it is in light of the current AI revolution that's happening, specifically with autonomous agents. And so this is AIs that will interact with each other and people. And I think that the place where they do this is going to probably be crypto, purely because of the blockchain and the nature of the way that the data is recorded. It's going to give them some level of certainty and an ability to interact and engage with each other utilizing blockchains. Have you heard anything about this? Is this new to you, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, it's completely new to me. The only thing I could say is the bots, right, that do the front running. So that's sort of a way of utilizing that sort of technology, isn't it?
Well, to some degree, yeah. Different thing though. That's just taking advantage of. They're not necessarily AIs. They're just logic bots that if this then that kind of thing. What I'm talking about, so that's part of it for sure. But what I'm talking about is actual LLMs or autonomous agents who will have specific tasks or things to be doing online. Agents, like okay, you've got this objective to achieve, and this is how you can go about it, kind of thing. And these autonomous agents will end up interacting with each other and smart contracts to do the things that they're wanting to do. And I think that that's going to become a large part of economics. It already is a big part of economics. Like most trading is done algorithmically or on by computers, essentially. But yeah, I think blockchain is the place where this is probably going to start to really take off, largely because I think in the traditional systems, they're going to want to sort of ban AIs from participating, so to speak, or at least regulate or reduce the level of control or access that they have. And so I think crypto is where it's going to really go with autonomous agents. And so I think that really could be a bull case over the next few years.
Yeah, that sounds dope as fuck. You know what would be sick? If you could have your own AI agent doing trading for you. And it would be amazing, the capabilities, because it'd be considering, such a large data set of information. And having the AI also considering like Twitter posts or conversations happening online, it'd be able to predict destabilization in the market a lot better. Because when humans try and like what pisses me off are people that read graphs, right? Double bottom, shoulder, and all this. Like, yo, shut the fuck up, man. Like, come on. Like, does that actually really work, or do they just say it does when they finally get it right? So it's kind of hard to understand if they're actually doing real shit. But the AI would be able to consider a lot more data much more efficiently.
Yes.
Sorry,
so you mentioned people that read charts or graphs. The funniest thing I think about all of that is because people think like there is correlations, right? There are certain patterns that emerge over and over and over again. There are these different kinds of things. And so I think there is validity there. But I think lots of the validity comes from the fact that people believe that they are things, right? Like if you know that lots of people are like, oh, it's a double bottom or a head and shoulders or whatever the, insert graph term here. And then other people are like, oh, it's happening as well. Then it sort of becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard. So, you mentioned that the AIs will be able to take in lots more data. And I think for a period of time, there will be lots of alpha in there, like there'll be lots of opportunities to use sufficiently capable AI agents to make better bets and predictions in the markets. But over time, it's just like all of these things, all of these opportunities, the way I think about them is they're like broken loops or unclosed loops. And so then the arbitrage essentially closes the loop. And so while there's an opportunity in the market, people will start taking advantage of it. But as people start taking advantage of it, that closes the loop, right? It takes the opportunity away. And so I think that that's what's probably going to happen real quick. And then again, just like traditional finance, the big players will end up, sort of competing it. Everyone will end up competing it down to very small margin, and then the only people that really can do it at scale are the big players. But I think what it ends up doing is freeing everybody up from not having to really think or worry about it, and then the bots will be doing it in the back end. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, no, it basically it's all going to be run by the bots. People won't have to do anything. Yeah, I got you, guy.
Yeah. So
more
the alpha
or
in
less.
that,
I mean,
yeah. So the alpha in that is possibly looking to get in now, right? While this isn't a huge thing just yet, right? Like if autonomous agents are going to be the future or going to be the main volume on cryptocurrencies or on blockchains, interacting and utilizing that to communicate and exchange and interact with each other, then getting into that early seems like not a bad idea, or at least allocating some attention or capital towards that seems like it could be fruitful.
Absolutely. And I'm not afraid, even though I'm not a financial advisor, to advise people to at least have 10% of their portfolio in Bitcoin or some crypto, because why the fuck not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have just 10%? Some gold for some backup. And there was a really neat graph I saw a couple weeks ago showing someone who saves money and invests, and to show like a chart of like how much they make throughout their lifetime in comparison to someone who just blows their whole paycheck. But I understand like a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, so it's really difficult. But it was just an interesting graph because it shows just this exponential growth in wealth over time, and it was over like a period of 20 or 25 years. So it wasn't very long. Like if you get into at least investing now, like imagine in 20, 25 years, you could have some serious money if you could just put away like a little bit. And I do strongly advise to put some in crypto.
So the thing that I think is an important takeaway there is like the people who get wrecked are people who are trying, and I've made these mistakes in the past. I'm speaking from experience, being wrecked because you want the thing to be immediate. You want to be able to buy this thing today and then tomorrow it 100x's, or you're looking for the quick fix. You're looking for the quick hit and the quick payoff, right? The home run, so to speak. Whereas what you really, really should be doing is slowing down, zooming out, and trying to play a long game and thinking, what is going, where is this going over a 5 or 10 year time horizon, and play the long game. And I think that's what that chart shows you, is that, over a long enough time horizon, that's when it really starts to pay off. And so with the crypto stuff, don't play the get rich, get quick schemes. Don't do any of that. That's a sucker's game. And I'm pretty sure it's Warren Buffett has a great quote, which is, markets, or the stock market, is a mechanism to take money from the impatient and give it to the patient. And I think that really sums it up. So play long games. Yeah. Look at the long term.
100%. And I have some experience losing money as well, so I've learned that lesson myself. Yo, Rubes, do you remember the days of the what was it? The daily profits. What was it called? With Wonderland and Hector Dow.
Oh, Wonderland time with the rebasing.
Yeah, that's it. The rebasing. Do you remember those days? There was a whole bunch of platforms that were coming out around that time offering this rebasing model where basically people would be making anywhere from, like a very like a 0.5% a day, sometimes upwards of like something ridiculous like 3% a day. I think some of them even offered more, and they just
Some were
became this.
offering thousands of percents a day. Let's be honest. Like it was all the extreme. Yeah. There is just an incredible space of ridiculousness that happened.
Wow.
But again, like these, some people, you can play that right, and it can be very like interesting and lucrative short term, but none of them ended well. That's the one thing we can take away from all of it, is none of that is sustainable, or it didn't end well at all ever.
Pump and dumps, every single one of them, pump and dump. It's just it's the first one to pull the trigger. Like usually, correct. I was looking at a lot of them and I was like, yo, like I'm gonna time the next one, and I was taking like the averages of all these different platforms, like how long they sustained like growing for, and when they dropped off, and I came to this like 2 to 3 week conclusion where I was like, all right, I'm just going to invest and really quickly, I'll sell. So I tried that on this one, and it never grew because some of them never grow.
Yeah, that's
and I
right.
thought it was a good one because it had a huge Twitter following. It had a lot of noise around it. And I was like, okay, this is the one. This is the one. And I'm going to do it here. I thought Safu was the one too. Have you heard of Safu, by the way?
Is it Safu?
Seifu? Is it Seifu?
Saifu? Sifu?
No. Sifu's another is something else.
I don't know.
Safu, I think. Oh, I can't remember. But this guy, this greasy guy, Brian, right?
The whole premise of it is that it's safe. Is that right? Like Seifu. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
I was following this guy because it was making a lot of noise. So it was done by this guy Brian. He was quite like the hoaxer. I don't know what the fuck the word is. God damn, I'm like forgetting how to speak English, guy. But he would have these live podcasts basically where he'd be talking about Seifu or Safu, whatever, I don't know what the fuck it's called, but yeah, he would have like almost daily ones making a lot of noise. He gained like a big following, and it got pretty big pretty quickly actually, and it sustained longer than other ones actually. It was interesting to watch him go, and then a lot of shit came out about him running scams before. A lot of these guys in cryptos are like hucksters from before in the financial market.
It's the perfect place.
Yeah.
It's the perfect place for them.
Yeah.
And look, this is where there is some validity to what the SEC is saying, but not in the way they're going about it. Whereas like the real problem is that, because of the nature of crypto and the whole anonymous founder, all this sort of stuff, like it has a huge magnetism towards these sort of dodgy characters who are really happy to just like literally take money off people for nothing, and not have any guilt or remorse about it whatsoever. And that really is a big part of the problem. But again, with all of this stuff, like it's an opportunity for society to learn from this. So if you get you're part of one of these scams or you get burned or whatever, that's a learning lesson for you. And I think that ultimately leads us to become better and stronger and more robust over time. And what doesn't kill us, makes us stronger in that regard. And I really do think that is like, it's just part of the process with all of these things. Like we have to make these mistakes in order to learn. And that's how society and people within societies learn and progress. So I don't think it's about protecting people in that regard, which I think is what the SEC is trying to frame it as. I think it's important that we go through and we make these missteps so that we can learn these lessons. But okay, so let's nail in on this crypto bull case, right? Because AI agents are going to be a thing for sure, right? Like it's going to be a thing. And I do think there's a good case that can be made for a lot of their activity being done on blockchains. So what is this going to look like? Like is this going to be an alternative economic system that emerges? because this is where it's easiest for these AIs to engage and interact and trade with each other, and get shit done. Like, I don't know. Is it like you might not have ever thought about this, but like, let's just think out loud for a minute, because I think it's pretty fucking cool.
It is fucking cool, and I'm still trying to wrap my my head around this one. Like, what are the capabilities? Because it kind of sounds like endless, but man, what? Right? It's kind of fucked up to
Polska
think about.
thinking
Like,
in real time.
it doesn't help on Blaze too. So, I suppose if you want, it'd make purchasing, it'd give you a purchasing power that would be, it would just make purchasing more convenient, selling things more convenient. It would make transactions much more convenient, much more rapid. You'd be able to just like the rate or velocity of transfer would just be super amplified. But I'm trying to think of like what. Okay. It's
Stumped
not
him.
interesting. Yeah, I'm stumped. I don't really know. I just feel like the purchasing and the selling power would just be a lot more efficient and amplified. That's all I got. I don't know.
It's all good. So I have a couple of ideas on this. So Stephen Wolfram has spoke about this a couple of times with autonomous agents, and how he thinks that most of economics in the future is just going to be bots, essentially trading between themselves. And he uses one example, which I thought was like, kind of boring, but when you really think about it, it's actually interesting. Where he's like, say you have, I don't know, 2 cookies, or you have a play. No, let's use a better example. Say you have like some baseball card, right? But you also want to fly to some island, okay? And then so in the background, instead of you having to sell your card and do all this other stuff, the AIs or the autonomous agents, you say you want to fly here, and this is what you're willing to put up for that flight or whatever. And then in the background, all of those autonomous agents will figure out some elaborate trade strategy where somebody who wants your basketball card has this other thing that somebody else wants, and then there's like 10 other different transactions that it goes through, and ultimately it ends up in you getting a ticket to fly where you wanted to fly to, right? And so it maybe money goes away in that regard, and maybe blockchains are the way that we keep track of these transfers or these exchanges between different items that are essentially like, an old school barter system, but like done in a way that would actually work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I can see that happening with autonomous agents, right? Because at the end of the day, like, that's what you would have to do, but it's just incredibly tedious process for you to like put up that you have this playing card, and then somebody's got to be like, oh, I want that playing card. And then you're like, okay, well, what do you have that you could swap me for? And if they don't have something that you want, then that the trade's kind of done. Whereas like with autonomous agents, like they could be like, oh, well, who else, who wants the thing that person's got? And then that could be some other person, and they go, okay, well, what do you have? And they've got this weird elaborate thing that some other random person really wants, and they'd be willing to pay all this money. And so then you could get even more money for your thing because some other intermediary thing was like more value. Anyway, it's this crazy set of transactions that would end up happening, or these trades that could end up happening, essentially happening behind the scenes. Like none of us ever need to really think of that. You just sort of put up that you want this thing or you want to go do this thing, and then they figure out the trades that need to happen or the exchanges that need to happen in order for you to get that. So I think that's fantastically interesting.
I guess the transactions would also be communicating with delivery businesses where they are using AI and computers to send people packages. So they would be doing, you would get what you traded for, you would get that. And the person is, the trade would get, their thing in like sent autonomously. So and I think both systems would be in communication.
Yeah. So I think that, there's going to be the space for verification is going to grow. So real world verification, like, actually showing or proving that something did happen, is going to be a big thing. Like that's why blockchains are, useful in a sense, is that there is this one essentially ledger that shows you what has happened. There is a way to see sequentially what has happened and what followed what. So that happens on blockchains, but in the real world, like actually having proof of delivery or proof of exchange and that kind of stuff is going to be valuable also. So yeah, that's going to be an emerging field. What else?
What's going to happen to customer service, guy? Who do you talk to if your package doesn't arrive, but the blockchain says it did?
Probably a bot, some autonomous agent. Like I think that's what most of this stuff is going to go. Like, call centers are going to essentially be replaced by like LLMs or autonomous agents. Yeah. You keep going.
Yeah. Here's the issue though, because companies, they put up obstacles, right, to maximize gains for profits, right? And usually the customers are the ones getting hit these days. Before it was, customers always right, and you have to make the customer happy. Now it's like, yo, let's try and reduce customer communication, and put up certain obstacles to make things a little more inconvenient for the customers. However, it's more beneficial to the company, right? I actually have kind of a weird example. This happened to me this week. We bought a fridge, right, from Falabella. Never buy anything from there, but it was a good price. and what they do is they contract a company to deliver the fridge, right? So you don't have any communication with Falabella when you buy something online. You can call them, but when they come to drop off the fridge, they don't know anything about the fridge. They don't know anything about Falabella because they're a contracted company, right? So it's a way to like evade issues directly with Falabella, and it's cheaper for them. It's just not good customer service. So when you have an issue, it's more difficult to get it resolved because you have to go through a system now. So the issue that we had was it was the wrong fridge and it was all fucked up, right? So we called them and there weren't much help at all. Oh, by the way, full disclosure, I'm in Colombia, so I know things are kind of fucked up everywhere right now, but this might be more fucked up than in other countries. So we get put on this. Yeah, they weren't very helpful. They say send these pictures to this bot, this chat bot on WhatsApp. That's what they tell us to do. They gave us a number and deal with your problem there. So that's already, it's kind of fucked up. But anyways, so we do that and there's no response from the bot, right? Days go by and we tried 3 different bots. We're calling the company. They don't know anything. They can't help us. Can we please speak to the supervisor? When are they coming to get the fridge? Oh, like we don't know. We can see in the system. They tell us we can see in the system that you have sent pictures, but it doesn't say anything here when they're coming to replace the fridge, right? And now it's on like day 5. And I asked to speak to the supervisor again, which they weren't any help the first time. They basically say the exact same thing the person I talked to on the phone initially did. I don't know if they have any more authority. And this is another issue that businesses do. They don't allow their customer service to do anything. It's all systems and policies and rules and bullshit. It's all about to maximize profits and make the experience inconvenient for you because they rather just leave the fucking fridge there. These people get tired of the process and they'll just stay with the fucked up fridge. Probably because they have some sort of fucking deal with somebody else where they say, yo, we can sell your fridges. We'll just sell them online to customers and we'll make it so difficult for them to replace the fridge that they'll just stay with the fucked up fridge. And you give it to us at a discount and we'll still mark it up for the customers. I bet you that's their fucking scam because it's the only thing that makes sense to me. So anyways, day 5, another contracted company, a different one this time, comes just to pick up the fridge. They don't have the new fridge. So we call, yo, what the fuck's wrong? Where's our fridge? Oh, we don't know. They have to go and check this fridge in first, revise it, look at the damage, and then they'll make a decision. And we're like, make a decision on what? If you're going to get a new fridge or your money back. And we're like, holy fuck, how long is this going to take? Oh, it usually takes 24 hours. 48 hours goes by, we call. And at this time, I'm like, yo, I already know the supervisor by name when I call in. I'm like, yo, I want to speak to Maria Fernanda. And they're like, well, we can't connect you. She's not working. And I'm like, I know she's working there. Like, they lie to you. They tell you that you can't speak to the supervisor first. And then you have to like ask for the supervisor like 3 or 4 times. And it isn't until you get a little bit like you raise your tone a little bit, do they actually activate and do what's being asked of them. And then, so yeah, I already know Maria Fernanda. I've talked to her 3 times. So anyways, and I'm not exaggerating. This is all true. So finally, after 72 hours, Maria Fernanda tells us that, okay, there's no other fridge for you, and we're going to be giving you back the money. You should be getting an email today with a code, and you go into the website with that code, and you can select your bank account, and they'll deposit the money into your account. And this can take up to 15 days to complete. And we're like, that doesn't make any sense. 15 days. When you do a bank-to-bank transfer, it's maximum 3 days. That's how it works in Colombia. It's 3 business days, right? And companies have priority. So they have easier access to banks. So it should be taking less days. But for some reason with Falabella, it takes 15 days. So now these motherfuckers want to hold on to our money for as long as possible because they also have their own bank. And this is an international company. So anyways, we're waiting for the email now. So to be continued. It's been another 3 days. We still haven't got the email. So now we're calling Maria Fernanda about the email. Where the fuck is the email? And now she's finally saying you should be getting the email Tuesday. So the process to transfer the money, the 15 days we need to wait, hasn't even started yet. And we tried buying this fridge 3 weeks ago. So that's Falabella. Please share this video, clip it. Falabella, fuck you. You guys are running a scam. Go fuck yourself. I hope nobody ever goes back and buys anything from your store and you guys go under hard as fuck. So you can't yet.
So you're a bit passionate guy. I like to hear it. So a couple of things with that. So again, it's often more valuable to assume ignorance than bad intent, right? But you are right in saying that this is a bit of a strategy that companies do use, definitely. But there is, I'm not trying to justify what they've done, but there is a counter, or there is reasoning as to why they sometimes do make it a little bit more difficult like this. And that is you have to sort of raise or provide some barriers for people to get refunds and different things like that, because there are bad actors who can take advantage of these things if it's too easy. Who can get something delivered and utilize it for a period, then say it was broken, and then if it's too quick to process a transfer, then they could easily send it back and get money and da-da-da-da-da. There is some rationale there for why you should make it a little bit difficult to get the refund or to get whatever's happening. But you're right about the 15 days. That is a bit of bullshit. And if they are using AI and all this technology, how come it isn't becoming more efficient? It's just becoming worse. And a lot of that is because so much of this stuff is new, and there is a problem with verifying all of these things. And the craziest thing about using AIs to do, image recognition and like damage reports or all that sort of stuff is you can game them. You can trick them. So like this has been done many times with Tesla and their autonomous driving system. So you could just paint these weird little symbols on signs and it would make the car think that it was a completely different sign. And then it thinks that that's real world truth. And so then it starts acting like, that was a real thing when really it wasn't. And so there's lots of these crazy things. And so this is all going to have to get figured out at some point. And I think, unfortunately, we're going through, and your experience is part of the figuring out, Guy, as much as it sucks. But I do have a question for you. What the fuck are you doing for a fridge in the meantime, Guy? This doesn't solve the fridge problem. This is terrible.
Yeah, that's what we've been explaining to Maria Fernanda for for like almost a month now. And she is understanding us completely, and she is attentive to our situation. So she's actually
Well,
really
she
good at her
tells you
job.
she is. Yeah. But
No, yeah,
she's in between a rock and a hard place,
I
right? Like
know, I know. I feel
she's
bad
dealing
for
with
her.
you, and she can't really do anything because.
Yeah,
Okay, so the real problem there is middle management. We've just got way too much middle management. Like they're probably very bloated in the middle management section when really they should just be having getting rid of a lot of that middle management, putting boots on the ground and actually being able to service their customers. And you're right that companies do use abstraction, like levels of abstraction to avoid responsibility with lots of things. So like by subcontracting out the deliveries, yeah, it solves a bunch of problems for them, but it also creates a whole host of other problems because there's no real accountability.
yeah. You did mention to talk about like the other side of it, and yeah, there is another side as well. If we look at the company, right, because the company needs to be competitive in the market, and they need to strategize on how to maximize profits, obviously for shareholders and all that. And you could say like, oh, the owners are probably greedy, and then the other side of that is that, well, they're also employing like a lot of people as well. So it's sort of like a systematic thing that happens. It's like everything working together to sort of mold the system that we sort of have today. So sometimes it's not even companies. In some cases, it might be, but in other cases, it might be that they're just trying to strategize in a certain way, right? And in order for doing so, they're going to be, implementing certain things that may be considered inconvenient to the customer or not work as efficiently as what it looked like on paper. And they're sort of, sometimes their hands are tied. They make mistakes, or they're trying to make moves, or they're trying to make profits, and in doing so, it doesn't necessarily always work the way it's intended to do so. So I don't think it's always like malicious intent, but also fuck Falabella anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Moloch. That's what's happening. It's a race to the bottom, right? Like in order to be competitive, they've got to advertise these low prices and do all this sort of stuff. And the only way they can do that is by having these sort of other systems in place, which means that at the end of the day, like the customers don't get the service that is, would be beneficial, would be great for them and to help them get those products. But to try and keep competitive with the prices, they've got to do all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we get back onto the crypto though. So fuck Falabella, absolutely. Sorry about your fridge guy. But in the future, I think that this is what's going to need to be solved for. Like you just highlighted that there are still huge problems in this space with all of that, with the verification, with the accountability, with everything else. And so I think this is a big open problem that will have huge upside for people that are solving in this space. So the people coming up with solutions for all of this, they're going to stand to make a lot of money and help society. Sorry, I'm just slightly gaseous. But yeah, they're really going to solve, like if solving these problems is going to be incredibly valuable. Okay. So I think there's a huge opportunity in this space. I also think there's a huge opportunity in developing the autonomous agents to do these kinds of things. I think that's going to be interesting. Does money still is money still going to be the main mechanism of exchange? So the crazy thing about money is it's this universal mechanism of exchange. Like if I have some money, I can pretty much buy almost anything, right? But if you have a lot of gold, you can't exchange that gold for almost anything. Like there's people that don't want the gold, don't want to have to deal with storing the gold and all the rest of it. So money is a very universal mechanism of exchange, and it has allowed us to do things that are crazy when you really think about it. Like it's a very powerful tool and powerful level of abstraction. So will it still be like, will we still have those checks and balances like money, or will it come down to like, will we be able to do these elaborate trades between different things? Does money sort of disappear? Does its role reduce in the future with autonomous agents? I don't know. That's an open question for me.
Guy, I feel like I'm in a storytelling mood. Actually, I just remembered my question. What is your opinion on the CDBC? Is it CDBC? The
CBDC.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned it at the beginning, but what's your opinion on that? What's your take?
Can I just, okay, I'll answer that in a second, but you say PDB, not PBD.
Patrick Bet David, PBD.
Yeah, PBD, but you were saying PDB.
Yeah.
And then you just said CDBC when it's CBDC.
Fuck. I can't get my acronyms, guy.
The B and the D. I think you have are you dyslexic with B's and D's, guy?
Yeah, guy. I've been dealing with it, guy. But I still haven't. Not there yet, guy. Not there yet.
Okay. So well, my take on the CBDCs, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's a central bank digital currency. I think that's very problematic. That is, look, it's been known for a long time that governments and things like that shouldn't have all the power because it's just very dangerous. There are many good arguments as to why, and so I'll let people find that out on their own. But it's just not good. Any one thing having control over everything is not good. You need the diversity. You need optionality. So CBDCs, I think, are by and large a terrible idea. I really do. As for all the problems that they would solve, they create so many more. I think the ability and the power for a government or an institution to just be able to pause, delete, restrict you from being free in some sense to utilize your money or whatever because they deem whatever they deem, I think that's very dangerous. I also don't think that purely digital is robust enough, and I don't think it can ever be robust enough. And so I think that they're trying to get rid of cash as well, because cash is hard to track. But the hard to trackness is like, it's not a bug, it's a feature, really. And as an example, we had an event recently in Australia where we had some major flooding, a couple of months ago. Or a few months ago now. We had some major flooding, and a lot of areas got hammered by these huge floods. And guess what didn't work during the floods? FPOS machines, card payments, all of the digital stuff. And so with a central bank digital currency, if we get rid of cash and we just have those, then whenever anything like that happens, there is no alternative. And so cash was really, really important and very valuable and useful during these floods because none of the other stuff worked because of the outages and all the rest of it. So I can understand why governments and central banks and banks would want CBDCs because it's more control, more power. But I also understand that it's up to us, the people, to push back against that, to limit that and know that it is in their intrinsic self-interest to gain more control, but also how dangerous and bad that is for the rest of society.
Yeah, dude, that's a message worth mentioning again. Like, I really hope people really open their eyes and get it, that it's not a good idea to move forward with a government-controlled digital currency. You never want the government to be able to shut you down at a moment's notice. And it could be for reasons that they consider legit, which are illegitimate. And we've seen that already with some of the woke shit that's been going on, some of the shit that's been being pushed by the left. So we could already see that some of the legislations and policies are really corrupt. So just imagine what they could do when they have full control and they can shut you down at a moment's notice. Like, you won't be able to buy. They can control what you spend your money on. If you go to the grocery store, you might have a limit on things you can buy, how much meat you can buy, because we know that they're pushing for this vegan bullshit, another thing that they're pushing for, right? Make everything just vegan. So I imagine that they would want to control meat purchasing. That's one way they would be able to achieve that, because they're going to make a lot more money turning everything into vegan. It's a lot more beneficial for them. They don't do it because it's good for you. They don't give a fuck about you. They give a fuck about themselves. So don't fall into the trap. And I like that the government has exposed themselves during the pandemic, because they fucked up, because they were too greedy, in my opinion. They pushed too hard. Too many people see them for who they really are and see the media for who they really are as well. So I'm really happy that happened. I just don't know if enough people have opened their eyes yet to say no to CBDC. I could totally see it happening easily in Canada, because Canadians are passive, so passive. Yo, any Canadians watching? Yo, man the fuck up. You guys are being bitch ass pussies. All you men in Canada, you guys are being bitches. Like, seriously.
Well, yes, all the ones that aren't standing up, yes, or pushing back. I like the passion guy. Okay,
very passionate today.
With all of that, this really okay. So the biggest problem with all of this is with the centralizing of power and control. Is that if there is one entity, like one government or one institution or whatever it is, that does have all this power, is that any time that they fuck up, it fucks everyone up. And you can't guarantee that you're right ahead of time. And that's the real crux of it, right? And like you mentioned with the pandemic and with the mandates of vaccines and things like that, this is where we really saw it, is that we're right, trust the science, these things work, okay? Everyone needs to get them, mandating this and that. And then it turns out that they don't really work as well as we said. We probably shouldn't have pushed it on everyone, et cetera, et cetera. And so over time, we find out we can approximate the truth more. And so we see that it's very dangerous when you do have this one central place making all the rules and regulations and in telling people what they can and can't do and enforcing that. Because if they're wrong, then everyone becomes wrong. And that fucks everyone. Okay. And this is why we need, the space for people to have different opinions and beliefs and to make different choices. I think that really is just at the heart of it. That is the problem. And like we've seen this in Australia, right? So we, they're trying to make everybody sign up for like a digital identity and to put all your information in this digital identity in this one place. And then they get hacked, right? By putting everything into a central place, you just create a honeypot. And then all it takes is for that to get compromised one time, and then everyone's fucked, right? And yes, there are efficiencies of having everyone's information in one place, but the trade-off, like the fact that everyone's information is in one place is the problem, right? And so this is why we can't keep always going for efficiency and all this other bullshit. Sometimes it's about being inefficient, right? To save against these things that can happen. But like that to me is exactly what's going to happen, like CBDCs, like we can look at China and just look at an example, right? In China, they have WeChat and it's linked to payments. It's like the everything app. Okay. And so if you are in China and they have they've got cameras all over the place, etc., they do facial tracking, all that sort of stuff. And so if you jaywalk or if you do, walk illegally across a crossing or something like that, and the cameras are there, they take a picture of your face, they ID you, face recognize you, and then they just deduct the money straight out of your account. Now I can understand from a government perspective, that's really efficient because anyone that does anything wrong, they can make them pay, so to speak, instantly, right? So it's very efficient for them. They don't have to spend money on people tracking them down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they also have to guarantee that they're right about these things, or what happens if the person did that to save a child or to do this or to, there's all these edge cases that you just can't account for in your rule system. Right? And there's a lot of nuances, if that makes sense. But anyway, I was rambling at the end.
No, it's good, guys. Good, because I'm like super passionate today. I think because of my difficult week, I'm very passionate and yeah. But I have another story actually. Like I said, I'm in a storytelling mood. It's about crypto. So Um, in Colombia, this app started about maybe 3 years ago. It's kind of done now. It's called Me Daily, and that just translates to My Daily, and it's basically one of those rebase apps, right? But in this case, you would make 0.5% on your capital Monday to Friday. So on the weekends you wouldn't, and you would on holidays. So if you summed up just the weekdays, it's generally like 9.5 to 10.5% a month, I believe. I think there might be a couple months where it's 10.5, but they're mostly 9.5 and 10s. Anyways, this app was already in existence for about 7 months when I learned about it. And I learned about it from a cousin of my wife's cousin. And he's been on there for a while. He actually knew one of the guys that set up the system because they were from Cali in Colombia. So he told us, all about it. And the guy that he knew that worked on the app itself, he talked it up as well. I was convinced it looked really good, and it was in existence for not a long time, but 7 months in the crypto world is like 7 fucking years. So
70 years.
yeah. So it was long enough for me at the time. And so I looked at it, I read the white paper, thought about it a lot, finally had a meeting. So this is the way they ran it. Like, you could buy it online, but I actually wanted to go to the place and let's meet these guys and like give them the cash, because that's how people were doing in Colombia. They made it. Colombians are very funny. They can only do things if it's set up in the most convenient, rudimentary way possible. So buying crypto for Colombian is actually going to an office and giving someone cash money. You know what I mean? And then they set their account up and put the crypto on their account. That's how they did it, which was very smart because it's very Colombian culture, because these guys developed an app. And you'd go to this office, you'd give them money, and in exchange, they would set up the app for you, and then they would put like that amount of the value of the crypto in that app. And that app would be where you generate the rebases. And it was actually really interesting going there, meeting the guys. I kind of got like a mafia vibe, but it's hard to tell because when Colombians have money, like, they really start like blinging themselves out. Like, they all get, if you have money in Colombia, you have mad white teeth. I don't know why, but mad white teeth, watches, necklaces, and a whole bottle of cologne. That's another thing Colombians do when they get money.
Yeah.
Colombians, but yeah, I'm just fucking around. I'm just joking around. But anyways, where was I in the story? The rebate, and then
people go give them the cash. They put the stuff into their phone. These people had an app. You believed it.
So the app was cool because you could take out money at the bank machine with the app. It was really legit. Like, that's what kind of sold me on it, is that I could actually take out money using the app. Just go to a bank machine. Sorry, you would transfer the money to another app that was linked to a bank ATM machine. So you'd go from one app to this app directly to the bank machine. Because on this other app, it's called Nyeki. That's where the money would be directed to from the Me Daily app. And on that, you would just send it to an ATM. It was dope. And then you could take out like $1,000 a day, which was I considered that like to be fair. Like, that was pretty dope. And it was going really well for a while. I actually ended up losing my job for 3 months because they're going through some changes. And we survived off the gains we were making on the Me Daily app. So it actually, was working. And I couldn't believe it. And now we're like a year and a half in, sudden, like one day to the next. And this all happened at the same time because the whole crypto market crashed. And as soon as the crypto market crashed, Me Daily started crashing at the same time. And everyone thought that it was just going to bounce back. Everyone thought that this was just like a minor inconvenience. So I didn't sell anything, right? Dropped like 50%. I didn't sell anything. Dropped like another 50%. Still didn't sell. And then suddenly it was a zero and I lost everything. Yeah. It kind of fucked me up. It was like my first experience losing like an investment. And I didn't have a lot of money to begin with. And when I lost it, it's like, I felt like I was like prepared for it. For some reason, I always knew that this wasn't going to be a forever thing, and that eventually I would have to sell everything. And I was thinking, I'll let it go until like, 2 years. But the problem is that if I got to 2 years, I don't think I would have stopped anyways. I think I would have kept going anyways. I don't think I would have followed that rule I thought out for myself because, yeah, you see it coming in and you're just like, holy fuck, this is like legit working. I felt like I was beating the system. That's what I felt like. I was like, holy fuck, I found a glitch in the matrix and now I'm taking advantage of it. And yeah, I learned a lot. It actually ended up being a good experience, but yeah. Lost. I didn't put everything in there, but I did lose a lot.
Yeah, yes, good. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. That's a good personal anecdote and story to hear. So honestly, so much of that is like just human psychology too. Like once it's been working for you, you don't want to imagine that it's going to stop because like this is this amazing thing that allows you to do all this different stuff and it's working. So like, why would you start imagining that it wouldn't? It becomes this very interesting psychological game. And so, like you mentioned, like it was a big learning lesson for you and you've made it into a good thing. And I think that is true for a lot of people. Like, yes, I think your story is it's going to be relatively common in the scene, especially over the last 2 years. And a lot of people will paint that as like a really bad thing, but I also think that it's very valuable because there are lessons in there that you can't learn any other way, really. And sometimes you have to go through it to learn the lesson, and that's part of your journey. And like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of meta shit in there, but like, I've got some questions about it. I'm intrigued. Okay, so how were they telling you that they were getting yield, right? Like, what were they doing with your money to pay you that interest?
Oh, it was just a Ponzi scheme. But what they tried telling us is that they invest in oil, they invest in gold, they invest in Bitcoin. And I remember looking at the guy, I'm like, yo, like I want to tell him like, yo, this is just a Ponzi scheme. Like I knew it was, right? But Ponzi schemes can sometimes work for a while. And I felt like 7 months was a decent spot to get into a Ponzi scheme.
That's a good one. I love that.
Yeah, it worked. It worked for a while there, though.
That's right.
And we survived.
Like all things. Yeah, it works until it doesn't. Yeah, and that's just a thing. Honestly, it's just how things are. But like you said, like Ponzi's, like so many things are Ponzi's. Like really, like even fiat is a Ponzi, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all predicated off future growth. Like there's a huge amount of debt. Like the US has got like 30-something trillion dollars in debt, and that's all because like, well, in the future, they'll be able to pay it off. It's like, well, we hope so. So like there's a lot of like almost everything's a Ponzi in some regard. Like a lot of it's shared beliefs and what we value and the rest of it. There have been debt jubilees before where the people just wipe the debt and everyone just sort of starts over. And that's when the Ponzi collectively, everyone's like, yeah, this didn't work, guys. Let's hit a restart button on this and go again. Hey, let's see if we can learn from our mistakes. But that's fascinating. So you knew it was a Ponzi, but you were like, I think I'm going to time this Ponzi pretty well, and you did up until a point, and then you were a bit like, because it was working. It's just like, fuck, I can't imagine this not working now. It's too good. And yeah, okay. How many people do you think played that game? Like played the Me Daily game?
106,000 users, I believe it got.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was big, dude. It was big. And when I got in, it was like maybe like 20,000.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you did time it pretty well.
I thought so. But I thought it was going to go like, more than 2 years. I thought it was going to go. Yeah, because there's been other Ponzi schemes that I've worked upwards of 3 years, right? Or maybe even more. I'm not really sure, but I've seen a couple of examples. I can't really think of a good one right now, but.
Well, there's so many. Like I think like most things are Ponzi's. Like there's lots of businesses that are Ponzi's, guy. Like there's so many businesses that are Ponzi's. Like, we have a giant Ponzi scheme happening in Australia. It's called the NDIS, the National Disability Initiative Service, and it is just a joke. Like the government it's just a honeypot, man. There's just people taking advantage of this system left, right, and center. like it's the only reason that can exist is because the government has allocated huge amounts of taxpayer dollars towards this national disability initiative service. It's bonkers. But this is what happens whenever you have these sort of honeypots or these large aggregations of wealth or whatever. You're going to have people that take advantage of it. So I wonder how much they were making.
I think they were making 20%. Sorry, not 20%. I think they were making 30% a month, probably.
Has there been any recourse into it? Like, are they getting sued? Is there any sort of they just closed shop? Like, what's the sort of deal there?
So I was following it actually closely because I lost a lot of money. I wanted to see what was happening. There's a lot of rumors, though. It's difficult to understand the truth because, man, I felt like I was ripping on Colombians just like a minute ago, and I'm gonna continue ripping on Colombians, but
be careful.
So, yeah, I love Colombia and I love Colombians, but I could rip on Canadians the same way I could rip on Thai people. I could rip on anybody. So it's just like funny shit you observe in cultures, right? Each culture kind of has like their quirks, and it's interesting observing them and also making fun of them, especially when you've had a bad week and you feel like blowing off some steam.
Yeah, all right, get into it. Let's go.
So the head guy's name was one of the guys' name. It was this family that was doing it, I believe, and they had another partner. And I actually saw the one guy the one day, mad white teeth. This guy, I always remember these guys with mad white teeth. It's like they bleached it in the morning before they got to work or something. Anyways, he and his two brothers were running the whole operation with this other partner. And apparently once the market started dropping, the other partner he had access to like all of it. And he took out all of the liquidity and he bounced and nobody knew where he went. And Sebastian and his brothers, they were supposedly getting a lot of death threats. They had to kind of go on the run because you don't fuck with people in Colombia. Colombians don't play. They're between Colombians, if one person sort of raises their voice at another Colombian, it's kind of known that you just continue on your way, because as soon as you respond to someone else raising their voice, it's going to be a fight. It's going to end sadly, because that's just the way Colombian people are. They're on edge, and I understand why. There's a lot of issues here, and it's dangerous here.
That's right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And this is all leading back to Pablo Escobar days. It really changed the culture in Colombia. A lot of people, older people I talked to, they said it was way different before the narco days. But anyways, so they had to sort of balance. And then there was this rumor that the guy invested in a music production business in Medellin with the money that he took out of the liquidity. And then I never heard that there was an actual case opened, because I don't understand how cases exactly work in Colombia, but I know that it's very difficult to sort of do a a police investigation into anything. I don't have
money talk
wealth of knowledge. Yeah, in Colombia, so the person that robbed everybody, he would just be paying somebody off, and that'd be at the end of that. So there'd be no issues. It's just he's just risking his life now, right? If he stays in Colombia, and those guys sort of are too, unless who knows what how much time needs to pass before people start forgetting about it, and those guys can live their lives.
So how much did he get away with? Do you know?
I think hundreds of millions.
Whoa! Of USD value?
Yeah, of USD value, I believe. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, they got away with a significant amount, because they pulled out apparently right around the crash, if not before. I'm not really sure. So they got away it was
a
the way
good
it was
sum of
done
money.
was clean. Yeah, they got
Okay.
away clean. But I don't really know. And I imagine that it's somehow connected as well. I don't think it was just him. I think, politicians are very corrupt here. There's a lot of drug lords as well. If you're making a lot of money and a lot of noise in Colombia, politicians, which are also the drug lords as well, they're the same people, they're probably taking notice. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there was something, like, listen, like, you are going to give us half that liquidity and you can take the sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You
I don't
scratch
think the
my
guy
back,
got
I'll
him.
scratch your back.
Yeah.
It's a whole vibe.
Yeah, for sure. That's my hypothesis.
Okay, so that's actually mad interesting. Hundreds of millions of USD. That's a huge amount of money. It'd be interesting to see if there is anything ever done with this in the future. Now that's another cool thing about like autonomous agents as we move forward, right? Is they're going to have the ability to connect dots that we probably will have missed. And if they can see transactions and the movement of money and the rest of it, like retrospectively, we're going to be able to like take these bots and like look back at data, look back at transactions, look back at all this sort of stuff and find connections that we missed in the moment. So I think it's going to be fascinating. Yeah, it would be interesting to see applying some, autonomous agents to looking and trying to solve some of these problems, retrospectively. Another thing that I was just thinking about just then is, have you ever thought about like a Me Weekly, version a different version?
Fuck yeah, yo, we should start Me Weekly. Yeah, let's do it, guy. Yo, this could be day one.
From
yo,
the founders that brought you Me Daily, we have Me Weekly.
Okay, so actually, it's hilarious you say that. They did try and start something up again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the same team. Yeah. They tried starting up a what's it called? It's a digital Colombian token, I believe, and it's pegged to the Colombian peso. And apparently, they're running their operation from outside of Colombia. That's like another thing.
Yeah, probably like Dubai.
Yeah, I don't know where, but they're not in Colombia anymore. Is what the word on the street is. So
this is, or you go, keep going.
No, actually, that was it. They started a new one. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Daily Cop, like COP, like Colombian peso. But yeah, it's pegged to the Colombian peso. Yeah, that's it.
This is also what creates the space for the SEC and these sorts of attacks to happen with the crypto. Is that like it is just this place where you can have massive, like, people coming in promising the world, people wanting it to be true, so they start to participate, and then people just absolutely roll them, like take them for everything that they have. And all you really need to do is just like be honorable for a short period, and then people are like, oh, this really works, and then they tell other people that this really works. And once you get up to enough enough interest and enough participation and users, then you can just pull the rug. And so I get it. Like I get, like at the it's a tough space, but yeah, I can see why, regulation is like they're trying to put this regulation on and they want some more control. Because it's this weird balance between, some level of regulation and control, but then also enough freedom to try new shit. But at the same time, you don't want to just create the space where people can come in and just, rape and pillage people's finances and wealth. But yeah, it's a tough problem, man. Holy smokes.
Guy, what do you think about exchanges? People using exchanges? Leaving their crypto on exchanges like Binance and Coinbase and shit.
Well, I think that there are use cases where it's warranted. Like if you trade on an exchange, then, you have to keep some on there. I think it's probably not a good idea to keep all of your money on exchanges, given what we've seen. Absolutely. The whole not your keys, not your crypto is definitely valid. all of this comes down actually because like we as people are actually really fucking trusting. Like we really are trusting. And it is the fact that we are too trusting given, we just too trusting, really. Like if we were a lot more skeptical and a lot less trusting, a lot of these problems wouldn't occur. It is the fact that people actually are despite what other people say, people are incredibly fucking trusting. Like it's just, this all comes down to that. Like the only reason you leave your crypto on exchange is because you trust that they're going to do the right thing. But the time and time again, we've been shown that they don't. And so you shouldn't. And this actually hits to a really important sort of meta concept. This is something I did for myself over the last few years because I had the inverse of this belief, right? So what I now do, and this is just, it's just infinitely more valuable and enjoyable to do this from my experience, okay, is now I assume that everyone's out to get me, right? And dispel your disbelief before, okay? This doesn't end up how you might think it does. I assume that everyone is going to fuck up. Everyone is going to do whatever is in their best interest. I don't blindly trust people anymore like I used to. I don't anymore. I assume that people are going to try and, fuck me over or whatever. And then I'm pleasantly surprised when they don't. Okay? Versus the inverse, which is what I used to do, which is I used to think that everybody had my best intentions or their best intentions, that they were going to do right and that they would be honorable and that they would, insert the positive outlook for everybody. And then I'd always be disappointed because one, no one's ever perfect. And my version of those things doesn't necessarily have to be their version, right? Does that make sense? Did I articulate that clearly?
Well, for me, you did absolutely, because I went through a very similar type of experience. I think feeling embarrassed when you do something naive is like the right feeling to have, but you should definitely use that to learn for sure. And I feel the same way. I've had to learn that can't be so trustworthy, so not naive with people, right?
Definitely. And only because it creates the space for you to be taken advantage of. That's really what it does. It's actually weird because like I sort of grew up thinking intrinsically that like people weren't very trusting. And I was like, oh, we should trust each other more. And like, you should just lead with trust and do this sort of stuff. And that's actually dumb. That's actually super dumb. And like trust is something that should be built and earned. And you should always be very careful with it, because trust is this very powerful thing that if you trust people, things, or organizations, anything like that, you're creating the space for them to impact and directly affect your life in a deep and meaningful way if you really trust too much. And so I think it's I think we should be a bit less trusting in certain circumstances. And that's what crypto really promised. Trustless, like you don't have to trust. You can just know because on chain, it's on chain, man. Like it's that whole thing, And then like, we're like, yeah, because it's crypto, dude, you can just trust, man. It's trustless. You don't need to trust them. So you can trust because you don't need to trust them. You can trust that it's going to work. And I honestly, like that's how it is, right? Like it's fucked up.
Yeah.
But then because of that, because people do trust, then you can take advantage of that. And I don't know, there's something in there we can unpack. I would love to do an episode on trust, actually. I have quite a bit of stuff on it.
Oh, shit. That's a good idea. I'm going to send you this one right now because sometimes we come up with ideas and
we forget them.
Yeah. So pod on trust. All right. That means we're going to do it now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if anyone ever has any ideas if they would like to hear two idiots talk about any subject, write into the comments. We'll do it. If you guys write a comment, I'd like to hear you both morons talk about this, we'll fuck shit up.
Yeah, like talk about the state of pet nutrition. Or
Yo, I'll talk about that for an hour. I don't give a fuck. I could. I think, yo, dude, we could talk about pet nutrition for
yeah, for sure.
an hour.
As long as we were mocking it most of the time. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, I think we can talk about anything for sure. Okay, so anything else you want to say on crypto AI, the future of commerce and trade, exchanging, blah, 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 blah?
It's just my opinion, really. I just don't think we should be leaving crypto on exchanges. But you did make a good point that, you know, there are some benefits to it. It's just that's not why we started crypto. It's just my opinion. It's kind of ruining crypto. It's kind of ruining crypto in a way. You know, it's opening the door to the SEC to I don't know. I just think that crypto didn't have, like, I don't think Bitcoin had this in mind the way is being ran, but could be wrong.
Yes, absolutely. But this is like the growing pains sort of thing. And again, like this could be the necessary impetus or stuff happening that forces people to realize the value in the self-custody and not having it as this, you know, like continuously exchange thing or whatever, but it's this sort of thing that you can store wealth or value on. So that's a good point. I agree with you on that, Guy. But outside of that, anything else?
Please do not subscribe to the channel. Please do not comment unless you have an idea for the pod. Comment that. But other than that, please don't comment. Don't like the video. Maybe even dislike the video. Yeah, hit the thumbs down. Yo, fuck these videos. I wish there was these guys are fucking idiots button next to the dislike one. If we could somehow activate that on YouTube, that would be dope. These guys are fucking idiots. That would be a good button to have.
Correct. I think we could put a petition in for a feature request from YouTube. Once we get over 100 subscribers, we'll put in for a feature request.
Yeah. I like it.
But yeah, no, thanks. That was a good convo. Don't forget to not like the video, not subscribe to the video, and not comment or share it with your friends. That's an important thing. Otherwise, good to see you, Guy. Peace, love,
you too, bro.
And
love you, bro.
Have a good night. Love you too, Guy. Peace.